Welcome to Satsang. So beautiful to be together, and especially so beautiful to be together at this time of the New Year. It's New Year's Eve. So many other places we could be, things we could be doing. And yet, most of those things, the parties, the clubs, most of that leads to the new year beginning just like the old year. Beginning with us hungover or frustrated, or just counting down the minutes left on a very short holiday before we have to go back to the grind. But it doesn't actually lead to anything changing in our life. And it's funny because the whole idea is, coming together and celebrating. And yet, in those sorts of situations, what are we celebrating? We're celebrating that in order to walk into the new year, I have to get really drunk because I can't, face it any other way. Or in order to celebrate this past year, I have to get myself into a situation where I don't actually remember any of it. But being here, being on the banks of Ganga, being in satsang, meditating, praying, finding in ourselves that newness, that seed that's blossoming within us. That's what leads to the next year being different. We speak sometimes kind of colloquially and catchily about new year, new you. But while it's catchy and cute and we use it sometimes, it's not really true, because the you doesn't have to be new. Who you are right now is beautiful, is divine, is whole, is complete. It's not about get a you transplant, become someone different. It's not that. When we talk about new you, it's more a way of how we think, how we understand ourselves, how we act, how we move through the world. And so that newness is what enables us to really know who we are. So it's not about I'm changing who I am. It's not about I need a new me, out with the old me, in with the new me. It's not that. Me, old, new, today, yesterday, tomorrow is divine. But it's, I get a new way of seeing me. I get a new way, I get new glasses you can think of. I get a new way of understanding me. To know that who I am is divine. And to be able to move through the world knowing I am love. I'm an embodiment of divinity. I'm an embodiment, therefore, of that which is divine, love, joy, peace, truth. So the new you is a new glasses. So it's not you have to change who you are. It's just you have to change how you relate to yourself, how you identify. Because in that false identification we suffer. And in that false identification we bring suffering to others. All of that which makes us miserable is due to some way that I'm looking at myself, at the universe, in a way that isn't really true. So we get new glasses. So it's a beautiful joy to be able to be together as we find new glasses, new ways of seeing, new ways of understanding, new ways of living, so that the truth of who we are blossoms more and more, flourishes more and more, and that we start living more and more in that truth. So, as always, we begin with one of the questions that's come in advance to us from our family joining us from all over the world through the beautiful gift of technology. How do I manage my emotions so they don't run my life and create problems? So, managing ourselves is not the highest goal. And I say this from experience. I used to believe, before I came to India when I was 25, I used to believe that the highest goal of life was to be able to manage ourselves, manage our emotions so that they don't overrun us, manage our pain, manage our problems, manage our relationships, manage our work, or in my case, school, a PhD program. But I really thought that the goal was just to be able to manage everything. And that when I was doing a pretty good job of managing things, I really thought that was kind of the best that life had to offer. Is you just, because I also had been at a time earlier where I wasn't managing so well. And so to be able to manage seemed like, yeah, now I'm managing. And everyone I knew, everywhere I looked, everyone was managing their lives. Some better than others, but everyone was sort of on a spectrum of management. When I came to India, I discovered that actually, beyond management, there's freedom. Because management implies that I am somehow astray or runaway, right? I mean, you've got to manage employees. Think about what the manager of a company does, or the manager of a business. They manage all of the employees. This one's on a chai break that's too long. This one's called in sick too many days. This one's slacking off on the job. This one's chatting up his, next door cubicle mate. This one's using his computer to check Facebook. This one's drinking on the job. So the manager manages everybody. Everybody should arrive on time. Everybody should do their work. People should, okay. But what that implies when I'm talking about myself is that I'm running astray. That I'm like the employee sitting here drunk on the job, or, showing up late, or being too lazy, or doing bad work. That somehow, if I'm not managed, I'm going to go out of control. Like if the manager doesn't show up, right? I mean, you remember being in school the day that the teacher didn't show up to a class, right? So Kids need to be managed. Nobody's going to sit there and say, oh, well, the teacher didn't show up. Well, anyway, let us learn our math anyway. Right? They're going to hang out. They're going to tell jokes. They're going to play. They're going to do whatever. But if I tell myself that I need to be managing myself, it's giving myself that same idea that I am like, a child in a classroom who, if there's not a teacher who shows up, the kids are going to run amok. Or I'm like an employee. If the manager didn't show up, I'm going to slack off and take a nap and just scroll Facebook and, talk to my friends on the phone. And that's not a healthy way of thinking about ourselves. And it also is not that which leads to our highest goal. Because our highest goal is not just to keep ourselves in line. Life is not a discipline. We discipline ourselves so that actually we find freedom. So for example, we discipline ourselves to get up early and meditate because we know that through the meditation, we're going to have a much deeper and higher awareness and experience. We don't discipline ourselves to get up because we're all just, a bunch of lazy pieces of you-know-what. It's discipline with a purpose. But management implies that there's something wrong. So don't think about managing yourself. Think about freedom instead of management. What is the truth of who you are? Who is that? Finding that truth and then living that truth. Being able to be free of that which holds us back, not manage them. I'm not looking to manage things that are keeping me stuck. Pujya Swamiji, I remember, I've been here now 25 years, and in the beginning when I would have the beautiful blessing of being in seva with him as we traveled around the world, and he would look at those times there were a lot of stress management workshops that were being advertised in the magazines on airplanes. And I remember we would sit on airplanes and he would just look at the airplane magazine and see these advertisements for stress management. And he always used to laugh. And he said, we manage things that we care about. So we manage our money, we manage our estate, we manage things like that. But now I'm going to manage my stress as though somehow it's something that I want to take care of. Make sure it stays safe. And I think the same thing about all of our emotions, right? If we're being held back, if my anger is creating a problem for me in my life, well, I don't want to manage it. I want to be free of it. I don't want to just learn how to explode in appropriate circumstances and to learn to bite my tongue or sit on my hands when it's inappropriate to be angry. I want to be free of the anger. If I'm overcome with jealousy, envy, judgment, negativity, despair, I want to find freedom from these things, not manage it. So, with our emotions, interestingly, simply allowing them to exist without pushing them away, without fighting them, but also without letting the drama arise around them, is one of the best ways. The West, a lot of Western psychology, is rooted in this idea that we have to somehow get our emotions out. So if I'm angry, I need to get that anger out, as though I had, eaten a bad samosa on the street, and now I had really bad stomach pain, I couldn't sleep, and I had food poisoning, and I just needed to, throw it up, get it out, and then I would be better. But our emotions are not like that. It's not like bad food you've eaten that you have to just, come out one end or the other end and eventually you feel okay. They're actually something that we are creating within us. And the more we get it out, act it out, give energy to it, actually the stronger it gets. We're now learning that both in Western science, but it's what in the East they've been saying forever. Don't identify with it. So whatever emotions you're struggling with, see them. Allow them to be there. But don't get wrapped up in a drama. So, okay, there's jealousy. It arises. You notice it. Maybe you see someone who's beautiful, or you see someone who's successful, or you see someone who's doing something that you would really like to be able to do, or who has something that you would really like to have. It arises. Just notice it. Just notice it. Just notice it. Be present with it. Okay, it's there. But don't allow the mind to get into a drama around it. That's where we get stuck. Emotions tend to just rise like a wave in the ocean. And then it peaks, and then it dissipates. As long as we don't get hooked into it. So if you notice an emotion arising, meet it with compassion. Meet it with compassion. Oh, anger. Oh, pain. Oh, jealousy. Oh, despair. Oh, fear. Okay, I see you. I see you. But I'm not going to give you the driver's seat of my car. Not going to give you the steering wheel. I see you. I see you. Just notice it. And then allow your awareness to shift into a different place. Because as we were talking about the other night, right, about those two wolves and which one grows, well, the one you feed. So in the same way, the emotions I feed are the emotions that tend to grow. So when my anger comes, if I feed it and I feed it and I keep telling myself stories of why I'm so angry, why this guy did that, I'm going to keep being angry. But instead, if I see the anger, notice it with compassion, with curiosity, and then allow myself instead to start to feel love. Allow myself instead to start to feel joy. Engage myself in something that brings love, that brings joy. Slowly, slowly, that habit will change. Because these emotions arise like that. You tend to notice that most of us have the same emotions over and over again. It's very rare that, by midlife you suddenly have a brand new emotion. Oh God, I've never felt like that before. It's rare. Either we're the angry sort, or we are the fearful sort, or we are the I'm a victim sort, or we tend to have little niches that we go into. And so just notice it when it arises. Hold it with compassion, with curiosity. Okay, you've arisen today. All right. Exhale. And then shift your focus. into something that brings you joy, that brings you peace. And allow that to fill the space that's otherwise being occupied by the other emotions. And what you'll notice slowly is that you can actually see them coming from a distance. Oh, yeah, there's anger arising. Yeah, I know I'm about to start to get angry. Okay, well, what can I do instead? Can I meditate? Can I pray? And it's not about distraction. It's not turn on a TV show. It's not go to the bar and get drunk. Because then all you're doing is suppressing the emotion. So it's not denial. It's not repression. It's just an expansion of the self into a fullness that is much more than that present emotion. And in the presence of the joy, the love, the peace, that present emotion of anger or fear, it starts to dissipate. The same way that a child that's crying, if the mom holds it for long enough, eventually the tears stop. So it's in the same way. It's like that anger or that fear is being kind of held by you, the being of love, the being of peace, the being of joy is holding that emotion of anger or fear or despair. And like the crying child, it slowly dissipates. And then you find that you're back in peace. But don't think about them as something to be managed, like they are children running out of control. Emotions are mirrors a lot of times. So it's very important to not push them away, but not to give them the driver's seat of your car. Just allow them to be present. They usually don't have a very long half-life. If you can fill your space with the truth, with joy and love and peace and service, it'll just dissolve into that. Does anyone here have a question? Yes. Sevanandaji has the mic. Wonderful. Maybe just keep your arm up and he'll... we have 2 mics.
Sadhviji, pranam. Please accept my pranams and your feet. I'm a big fan of yours. Just 2 days back, after reading 2 pages of your book, which was lying here, and it was like satsang only. So quite impressed and just love you a lot by those 2 pages I have read. I'm not very good with this language, English, but I'll try to... So, Guruji, मैं आर्टिस्ट हूँ और क्लासिकल डांसर हूँ, एंकर हूँ, दिल्ली सरकार, भारत सरकार के साथ सभी तरीके के मंच के कार्यक्रम करती रहती हूँ. मेरे लिए मेडिटेशन मेरा काम है इतने सालों से. ओवर द इयर्स आई एम मेडिटेटिंग विद माय वर्क ओनली. बट अभी कुछ सालों से, बिकॉज पहले एक रूटीन था, जिम जाना है, क्लासेस करनी है, रियाज करना है, प्रैक्टिस करना है, एवरीथिंग वाज गोइंग ऑन एंड हैप्पीली डूइंग. लाइक पीछे, मंच के पीछे भी खड़े होके डांस करने को मिल रहा, मोस्ट हैप्पीएस्ट पर्सन इन द वर्ल्ड. धीरे धीरे काम बढ़ता गया. आई एम डूइंग अ लॉट ऑफ शोज एंड now what's happening, like 2-3 साल पहले से, what I'm noticing, I'm not enjoying anything. I don't know what's that change has appeared, as you were saying that emotions suddenly can't change. But over this last 2-3 years, what I'm noticing, I'm not enjoying anything in the life. I don't want anything. I just need my work. And I'm a freelancer. If I'm not working even for a single day, I'm not meeting my stage even for a single day, I get so tense, and every time I'm thinking about my work, all the time I'm just, just searching the things, what's happening there, what's happening on this event, who is doing a show, I'm not doing, then who else is doing, okay, this person is doing, how that person can get my work because I'm doing it for years and all that. So every time, even a single minute, I have stopped practicing, which is most important thing for an artist. I've stopped doing just stop in everything, like my yoga, my abhyas, my practice, my life, love, feelings, everything. Everything has stopped on one, I stuck in one thing, that where is my work?
Beautiful. And thank you. Thank you for the honesty. This is actually more common than you may think. You could call it the underbelly of success. What happens is, एक बहुत बड़ी success बनने से पहले, I'm loving what I'm doing. I'm dancing, I'm performing, I'm living, I'm loving. Kyunki my vision of myself in the career world, in that material world, is not so, that's why I know I'm a good dancer, I know I'm a good performer, whatever. But basically I'm just enjoying my life. And as you said, even with a deep spiritual practice, I'm working on my internal spiritual life. Sounds perfect. फिर इस बीच में success comes. When success comes, and this is very important because a lot of people feel like all they want is success. All they want is to get higher and higher and more and more. But the dilemma with it becomes that suddenly your whole identity becomes that role. Whereas before, you were a dancer, but you were also a meditator, you were also a yoga doer, you were also a friend, you were also a this, you were also that. Now you have become this role. Now you are this very successful anchor. And there's a whole role that comes along with it. And what happens is we start to identify as that role. And that's the danger. We lose the rest of ourself and we start to think, I am that role. And obviously it feels great. You enjoy it. In the spotlight, everybody's appreciating. It also prevents you from having to think about your own life much. Because when you're on, and you've got lines to say, or a show to do, right? The show must go on. Kuch bhi ho jaye, show must go on. And so it actually enables you to be kind of not so present with your own inner truth, because there's a whole mask, there's a role, there's a drama that goes with it. And then, of course, when the opportunity isn't there, when someone else gets that role, or when you don't have work for a day, you're left in this very uncomfortable situation of fear. Who am I? If I'm not anchoring something, then who am I? If my identity is the anchor, is the performer, and I'm not performing, I'm not anchoring, then who am I? And that becomes a very uncomfortable feeling. And our whole sense of self is rooted and wrapped around that. And so it's beautiful that you've noticed that. Neto, so many people lose their entire lives in those roles of success. Chahe business ho, chahe TV pe, chahe in any way. Being so wrapped up in the role that they forget that actually there's an I who's playing the role. So being the anchor is just the role that God has given you in this act of the Leela. Right? Like dramas usually have act 1, act 2, act 3, beach mein the curtain comes down, the lights go on, right? So in this particular act, you have been allotted the role of successful anchor. But that's not who you are. Wasn't who you were in the last act. In the last act, you were a meditator, a yoga doer, a joyful dancer. And who knows what you're going to be in the next act. But when we forget that we're not the role, we are the one playing the role. When we forget that, then we start to lose everything, as you said so beautifully and so honestly. So the solution to it, first of all, is just to realize it's very normal. Don't feel badly about yourself. You should feel beautiful for having recognized this. And by the way, this is what leads so many people who seem like such top successes into alcoholism, into drug addictions, into eating disorders, into depression. Because they're wrapped up exactly like that. I am the role. But oh my God, I didn't get the part. It means, who am I? It means I'm nothing, I'm no one. So what you need to do, it's a very simple practice. I'm going to take 3 minutes of your day. Okay? If you can do a little more, it's great, but even if you only have 3 minutes. In the morning, 1.5 minutes. Okay? After you wake up, you can do it sitting in your mandir. You could do it in the shower. But 1.5 minutes in which you take a moment, you anchor in the truth of who you are, which even though you're not doing much of your meditating these days, still you know that, you know who you are. You take a moment, you anchor in that, the real me. And then you zip up your costume. The costume is the roles you play. In her case, it's a successful anchor. In our cases, it's so many different roles we play. It could be a role through our career. It could be a role in a relationship. It could be a role in so many different ways. But you literally zip it up. I am now going to play the role of successful anchor, or doctor, or lawyer, or teacher, or whatever I'm playing. And then you go out and you play it in the best way you can. And at the end of the day, when you come back home, have a shower. And again, either in the shower if you're really pressed for time, otherwise after the shower, sit in your mandir. And visualize that you are taking off that costume, literally unzipping it. And allow yourself just to go, right? And just rest for a moment back in who you are. And again, if you've got more than 3 minutes a day, do 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the evening. Add back in a few minutes of meditation in the morning before you zip on the costume, in the evening after you unzip the costume. What that's going to enable you to do, because spirituality doesn't mean don't play your roles. But it just means don't forget who you are. Don't allow the mask to get glued to your face. And so you bring back that meditation. And the other thing that I would do is I would make a list. It's a beautiful time, it's the new year. Make a list of the things that actually bring you the most joy in your life. The real most joy in your life. And then look at them. Because when you give up all of the things that bring you joy, in order just to be that successful anchor, under the guise, this idea that somehow if I get another role, I get another job, then I'll be happier. We forget actually that we're we're letting go of all of that which actually does bring us happiness already. And then make a commitment that every day you're going to do at least one of those things that really makes you happy. So that whether you get the show, you don't get the show, the ratings are good, the ratings aren't good, somebody tweets about you, they don't tweet about you. Either way, you're anchored in who you are. You've started your meditation practice up again. And you've done one thing in the day that really brings you deep joy. And that'll help you find your center again. It's very easy to get blown off center when we get swept up in success. But use this time to just come back to your center. And another beautiful thing to do is literally all day long, have ways that you remember to just check back in with the me who's under the costume. So maybe it's just a moment before each meal, before you eat anything, before you drink water, before you turn the ignition in the car. Come up with 6, 7, 8 things during the day that you do every day. Before you go to the bathroom, before you enter the bathroom, after you come out of the bathroom. Just a moment. They're just triggers. They're just things to remind you. Oh, I'm going to eat? Okay. I'm going to drink? Okay. Just a moment. And you reconnect. And you remember who you are. Then you're in the spotlight. Wonderful. You're not in the spotlight. You're dancing behind the scenes. Either way, you're connected with the self, which is that source of joy. Beautiful. Yes.
Good evening, Swamiji. So, my question is centered around expectations. The context is that 2 or 3 months back I was talking to my friend. So she said that she wanted, just fulfill the expectations of her family, kids, and then in the end want to go to old age home. And so that was her current thought process as of now. Now the point is that as a personality, she's very vibrant, but then down the art, she's a loner in that context. So the point is that what should be the appropriate thought process for her to move forward so that she can be happy for the rest of the life? Because it's not easy to be, moving to an old age home and be a lonely person. From my own family, I've seen it. It's not easy.
So, the dilemma with giving advice to someone who hasn't asked for it is people usually are not so excited to take it. So many times we offer, advice to people, your friends. Now, most of the time, when you try to give someone advice that they haven't asked for, they're not usually so appreciative. It's very rare that someone says, oh, thank you so much for that piece of totally unasked for advice about how I should live my life. Very rare. Usually, at best, if they're polite, they say, thank you very much, are you done now? If they're not so polite, they may say something else like mind your own business. But nonetheless, if your friend is going to be ready to listen, we have to live our lives today. It's a very delicate balance between living today as the best, the fullest, the most beautiful day that we can create, and simultaneously also keeping, kind of an eye on the future. Meaning, as Pujya Swamiji always says, failing to plan is planning to fail. So we have to keep enough of an eye on the future that, when we're old, if there isn't family, or for whatever reason, if the family situation is such, that we've got some way of being taken care of. But you don't want to live your life. You didn't mention how old your friend is, but you look quite young. I'm imagining your friend is probably around your age. I mean, you're many, many, many decades from looking at an old age home. So if she right now is already thinking about that, what I would try to do is I would try to get her focused on the next several decades. How can she utilize these decades, these minutes, these moments of her life, to feel full, to find fulfillment, to be of service, to share with others? And at the end, an old age home is obviously not an ideal situation, but it's also not the end of the world. There's many people for whom that is the situation. The question for her now is, how can she live now? Vibrantly, alive, full, connected, in service. Because when you think of an old age home, you think of kind of just sitting there and sort of waiting to die. Well, she shouldn't start waiting to die now. She should be living now. We all should be living now. However old we are. And then when the time comes, we see what the situation presents. If it's with our family, beautiful. If it's with others, beautiful. Who knows? Maybe your family will take her in when she's old. Who knows? Maybe she will be in an old age home. Who knows? But what we know is right now, she's got skills, she's got abilities, she's got resources, she's got strength. And that's what she should be focusing on. And as her friend, help her. Help her to stay focused now on the joy of now, rather than thinking about where am I going to be many decades from now. Because then you're dead while you still are living. Then she's old while she's still young. So I think that's probably the very best that you can do for her now. And, later on, if you're still good friends and your family wants to take her in and take care of her in her old age, who knows? She can come here. Really? Tell her you went away for New Year's and you found where she's going to go when she's old. But she should focus on now. Beautiful. Does anyone else have a question? Yes, one here in front and then in the back.
Pranam Sadhviji. By profession I'm a veterinarian, and otherwise I'm too interested in this spirituality and all these practices. I just want to ask one thing, society has made a number of rules, do's and don'ts, and at least 99% people believe in that. They have a definition for an ideal family. Like if the father is not there, they'll pity on you that, oh, poor people, they don't have the complete family. If you're only sisters, you don't have a brother, again the same impression. And top of all, if you don't have children, then even if it's my example only, even if I'm happy without that, but the people will not let me feel happy. They'll keep on again reminding me that you need, something is missing in your family, there is a vacuum in your family, you should adopt a child, and it's not a complete family. You'll see when, even if you adopt a child, then you'll see the difference. So it's like everyone has a different destiny. It's not that everyone can get everything, but is it necessary that we should fit in that ideal definition of a family? Is there not another way out that we can be happy in a situation in which we are?
Absolutely. And this is true whether we're looking at a family situation, whether we're looking at a career situation, you know, whether it's a different choice that you make in terms of children, marriage, family, whether it's a different decision that you make in terms of a job. Maybe your family and everyone you know are doctors, but you want to be a painter. Or everybody that you know is an engineer or a businessman, but you want to be a poet, right? We see the same sort of pressure from society. I'm a very big advocate for not worrying what the neighbors think. Far too many lives are ruined based on wo samne wale kya kahega, padosi kya sochenge. We spend our lives trying to make our neighbors happy, samne wale happy, and at the end of the day, we're miserable. And so I'm a very, very strong proponent of the idea that people who really love you, people who really want the best for you, are going to be happy when you are happy. They will want for you what will make you happy. Those are the only people you should listen to. People who have no real concern about your individual happiness, but just want to stick you in a box, are people you should be polite to everyone. Namaste. This brings us back to that. Thank you so much for your advice. Are you done yet? Right? You can be polite, but thank you. Ho gaya hai na? And you may want to think about some response. If you get the same question like that over and over and over again, you may want to think of some, kind of catchy response. Not rude, but just enough ki samne wale ko chup karane hai, taki they don't keep harassing you. What's important is your happiness. I know a lot of people who are married, who made decisions not to have children, just very conscious decisions not to have children. I know a lot of people who have made a conscious decision not to get married, other than those of us, who are sannyasis. But people in the world, not sannyasis, but just based on their own happiness, based on their own life path. Couples who have decided we don't want children, we're very happy as we are. People who have decided, I don't want to get married, I'm very happy as I am. There's no one box that we all fit in. And there's, kind kind of general societal norms, as you say. And yeah, I think they make a lot of people happy a lot of the time. But there's a lot of people for whom those norms don't apply. And I think there's also probably a lot of people who went along with the norm but who wish that they hadn't. Your only responsibility is to your capital S self. Your only responsibility is to actually awaken to the truth of who you are. It may be married, it may be unmarried, it may be a mother, it may not be a mother. It may be a doctor, it may be an engineer, it may be through a poet, because none of those are who you are anyway. Those are just different roles. It's still the drama. Oh, you're playing a mother in the drama? Okay. Oh, you're playing a woman who's not a mother in the drama? Okay. Oh, you're playing a wife? Okay. Oh, you're not playing a wife? Okay. They're all just different roles. It's all still the drama. Oh, you're a doctor? Okay. Here's your lines. Oh, you're a poet? Okay. Here's your script. These are just different roles that we play while we discover the truth of who we are. Can you discover it as a mother? Sure. Can you discover it not as a mother? Sure. Can you discover it as a wife or a husband? Of course. Can you discover it not as a husband or wife? Of course. So you need to walk whatever path is going to make it smoothest, easiest, fastest, most powerful for you to discover the truth of who you are. That is your highest duty. It is your highest dharma. Everything else comes after that. So do not let these people try to, convince you otherwise. Stay in what you know is you and is true. And, if it means avoiding some social situations because there's just going to be 50 people there telling you should have a child, go out with friends instead. Do something else instead. Don't keep subjecting yourself to situations where you're just going to be harassed unnecessarily. Find that truth within you. And then live that through whatever role feels the most to you like, this is my dharma. This is how I'm meant to be. Beautiful. Let that be your role for this act of the Leela. Wonderful. Last, yes.
Pranam Sadhviji. So my wife and I, we've been part of the retreat here since Monday. When we came here, we were on a really low point in our life. But these 5 days have actually transformed us for the better. Yeah. So in thanks to you, we're very grateful for being here, and we thank everyone here in the Parmarth Niketan family for enabling that for us. So I just wanted to say my gratitude first. So I'll start my question by just sharing like a little bit about my past experiences. Like about 4 or 5 years ago, till about 4 or 5 years ago, like I used to blame everything externally. Like I used to find external reasons for my pain and suffering. But then it increased so much that I knew that there is something that I've been doing which is wrong, so I need to start looking inward. So, and I've been on that journey, but there have been, again, in the past 3-4 years also, there have been so many more painful experiences that I started, blaming myself for a lot of those things. Sometimes, like I think I'm too self-critical also, and it, sometimes it feels like I'm the worst person that I know. So I'm afraid maybe I'm going I've taken a wrong path. So I just wanted to take some guidance from you on that.
Sure. Well, first of all, I'm so sorry for the struggles you've been having. But remember that the reason we are here, the reason we take birth, the highest possibility of our life, is not about having everything go our way. It's not about the success externally. It's not about how much we can manage things to get them to do what we want, how we want. The highest possibility is our own blossoming and unfolding and awareness, consciousness of the truth of who we are. And sometimes that happens best based on somebody's karmic package. Sometimes that's going to happen best in success. Sometimes that's going to happen best in failure. Sometimes it's going to happen best in wealth. Sometimes it's going to happen best in poverty. So don't take failures as though somehow you are doing something wrong. It may be just that right now this is the path that you are meant to be walking, so that you learn your karmic lessons and you blossom. We look at someone who's successful and we think, oh, they must have done good karma. I'm a failure. I must have done bad karma. I must be being punished. But it's not that at all. The universe does not have any kind of subjective values of, oh yeah, wealth is good and poverty is bad and success is good and failure is bad. We've put those labels on. The universe doesn't have that. The universe has rainy seasons and dry seasons and hot seasons and cold seasons. Loves them all. It's not like, oh, it's the dry season, this is the bad season. It's just a season. No value judgment. There are times that apple trees give apples and times they don't. Times the river runs very full, times it's very shallow. The universe doesn't put a value on that. So we should try also not to just say, okay, this is a time of some struggle. A dry season in my life, you could say. And it reminds me of a beautiful story of this saint who could kiss away leprosy. And so every day the lepers would come and she would kiss their wounds and heal them. But she always left one wound that she didn't kiss. So they always would leave with one remaining gaping wound. And one day her disciple asked her, Ma, you've got this ability to cure them completely. Why do you leave one wound? And she said, because that one wound keeps them calling out to God. So don't think of yourself as a failure. Think that right now, this is the time I am learning to call out to God. Stop taking the credit for it. You're not the maker of the universe, right? So the first thing is you need to change how you feel about yourself and your circumstances. You are not the worst person in the world. You are divine, you are beautiful, you are whole, you are complete, and you are perfect. And you need to figure out how to remember that. And so maybe you and your wife can have a beautiful mirroring practice every night before you go to sleep. Sit together, face each other like we did in the practice today, sitting facing each other. And just mirror for each other the truth of each other. You are so generous, you are so kind, you are so compassionate. You are so loving, you are so... Just mirror that for each other. But be honest, because obviously you're husband-wife, you're going to know when the other one is just doing nothing. Be real. What do you love about each other? Tell each other. And by the way, this isn't just for the two of them, it's a beautiful practice. Each evening, what do you love about? Share that with each other. And since you love and you trust each other, you've got to believe it, right? But even you could do things that may seem silly, but they have an impact. Literally, like put sticky notes around your house. I am full. I am whole. I am complete. I am divine. I am full. I am whole. I am complete. I am divine. I'm full. I'm whole. I'm complete. I'm divine. And you can't doubt it because the Shastras have told us. This isn't Sadhviji says, this is Shastras say. And it's quite arrogant, actually, to think that somehow you are so special that God has decided to make you the one non-divine being on the planet. Right? Everyone else is divine. But I'm so special that I'm the one God decided not divine. Right? You see the ego's game in that? I'm the one God forgot. I'm the one God took out of the oven half-baked. I'm the one God's playing a trick on. Out of 7 point whatever it is billion people in the earth, I'm the one he's playing a trick on. Tell your ego to just exhale. You're not the one who he decided to take out of the oven unbaked, who he decided he was not going to make divine, who he's playing a trick on. You are whole and complete and divine. But your vision is just cloudy right now. So, as you've been here in the retreat, these practices, these are things that clear our vision. And just keep up these practices. Keep meditating. Keep mirroring for each other. Keep reading inspirational books. Keep reminding yourself who you really are. And when there's suffering, just realize, okay, now I'm supposed to be calling out to God. God has missed me. Okay. Beautiful. And this evening when we sit on the banks of Ganga with Pujya Swamiji in the ceremony, let go of that time of suffering. Okay. Maybe you can do a swaha to the dry season. Let go of that within you that is co-creating that. Let go of that within you that is suffering from it. Let go of the identity that says, I'm a failure. Let it all go. Beautiful. Have a beautiful rest of your evening. We will be having at 8:30, in just an hour from now, a beautiful Swaha fire ceremony back on the banks of Ganga where we have the Arti, where we'll all have the opportunity with sacred mantras on the banks of Ganga to let go of that which is holding us back. We'll have a beautiful yagna tomorrow morning on the banks of Ganga at, I think it's 9:15. Is that right? I'm sorry? 9:15, thank you. 9:15 tomorrow morning, New Year's yagna on the banks of Ganga. So instead of our normal yagna here, it'll be on the banks of Ganga, 9:15 tomorrow morning. So much love to you all, and deepest prayers and best wishes for a healthy, a happy, a fully open and free and awake and connected 2022 for all of you and all of your families.